Hi everyone. Sorry I'm gone today. I've been sick this weekend and still need another day to get over it. Today you're going to start with doing the vocabulary. We learned the words on Friday. Today you just need to fill in the definitions. We'll do this third column another day. So that's the first thing. When you finish with that, then you're going to get the packet. It looks like this. There's a lot to it. Don't worry, we're going to take it a little bit at a time. And so we have, today you're going to be doing the background essay, and as you read the background essay, you're going to fill in the notes that are right next to it. So you have the guided reading notes, and then you have some questions over the reading. So that's our goal for today, is that you get the vocabulary definitions done, the guided reading notes, and the background essay questions answered. In order to do the guided reading notes, the first one says this is a primary or secondary source. You have to circle either primary or secondary. And so, first of all, let's take a look at the source. What this source is this is the introduction. It was written by the people who put together the DBQ. The copyright on this is in 2016. So 2016 is when this was written. And so, now the thing we still need to know is we need to know whether this is a primary or secondary source. So, a primary source is a document or artifact about a historical event or time period that was created by someone who was part of the event. So if someone was there, then it's a primary source. If it was created by someone who was there. There might be a photograph, so you see here it's a primary source. There's a photograph. This is actually from a diary. This is the diary of Anne Frank. It includes some letters or some notes that were written by someone there. If someone had written a letter to Anne Frank and she put it in her diary, that would be a primary source. Or, since the diary of Anne Frank later became a book, that is a primary source because it's written by someone who was there. On the other hand, a secondary source, whoops, I forgot to make this say secondary. This should say secondary up here. A secondary source is created by someone who is not a part of the historical event or time period. A newspaper report, if the reporter was not at the event, is a secondary source. A history textbook, a letter written by someone who has heard about the event from someone else. So, well, I heard from my grandma that it was like this. That's a secondary source. And a book written by someone who did the research but was not part of the event. That is also a secondary source. So remember I said that is a secondary source. So the thing is, was the person who created it there or not? So let's see. If this was about the Great Wall of China that was made in 221 BCE or around that time, in 206 BCE, that's the time period we're talking about. But this was written in 2016 by the people who created this DBQ. So they were not there. Is it going to be a primary or secondary source then, everyone? Yes, you're right. That is going to be a secondary source. So you should circle secondary. I'm going to highlight it here for you. All right. Now, the rest of this is notes, kind of like you're used to doing from the textbook. I'm going to go ahead and read the background essay aloud. You can pause the video here and stop here if you're good, or you can keep listening. And I will read through, and you can follow along in your notes. The Great Wall of Ancient China. Did the benefits outweigh the costs? In 221 BCE, a local ruler from the Chinese state of Qin violently conquered many towns and states and merged them into a large new kingdom. That kingdom was the beginning of China we know today. This ruler, who came to be known as Emperor Qin, died 11 years later, but in that short, brutal time, he directed a number of grand projects. So Emperor Qin, this is the person we read about, Emperor Qin Shi Huangdi. That's the same person. You learned about him last week. So he directed a number of grand projects. Using forced labor, he built roads, constructed a huge palace, and had artists make a terracotta army of 8,000 larger-than-life soldiers to accompany him to the next world. He also ordered the construction of a great wall. Before that time, the Chinese had built walls to protect individual towns and cities. What made Qin's project different was the sheer size of it. The written record about Qin's wall is very sparse, so it's very small, like there's not much. There's only a little here and a little there. That's what sparse means. So the written records about Qin's wall, there's not much. But the ancient stories, poems, and artifacts that remain help us to tell at least part of the story. Cruel rulers invite rebellion, and Qin was cruel. In 206 BCE, his successors were overthrown by the Han dynasty, which ruled for the next 400 years. Like the Qin, the Han were concerned with border security. Especially bothersome were the Xiongnu, who lived beyond China's northern border. Like the Qin, the Han decided that one way to deal with the Xiongnu was to keep them out with a wall. The Qin and Han recipe for building a pounded earth hung to a wall was fairly simple. So there's a picture here of one interpretation. The video that you saw last week showed you a different way that they could make the frame. But here's a description from the authors who wrote this in 2016. First, construct a wall frame roughly 30 feet long, 25 feet wide, and 20 feet high. Second, spread a layer of dirt within the frame. Third, pound the dirt until it is 6 to 8 inches thick. And so in the picture here you can see some people carrying up bags of dirt on their backs, others pouring it, and then others using these long poles to pound it in, called rammed earth. They're ramming the earth with their long sticks with a big, like a pounder at the end. I don't know what you'd call it. A ram, maybe? Rammed earth? Anyway, step 4. Repeat with as many layers as necessary to fill the frame. Step 5. Remove the frame and repeat the process for several hundred miles. In fact, it was thousands of miles that they built walls. At this point, 2 things need to be made clear. The Great Wall was never one continuous structure. What we call the Great Wall is really a series of walls constructed over a period of 2,500 years. When each dynasty came into power, workers connected previously built walls, repaired and extended them, or tore them down and built anew. It is also important to note that the beautiful, winding Great Wall that many of us have in our minds was built not by the Qin or the Han, but by the Ming dynasty, which ruled 1,500 years after the Han. Our focus is on the earlier walls. So this one, built of rammed earth, is like the one that you saw in the video that had some reeds and some dirt, but no stone. The stone wall is the one that was built by the Ming. Going on with the reading, the walls constructed by the Qin and the Han were enormous projects. They were built to increase security, impress visitors, and enhance the glory of China. However, the walls also required much sacrifice on the part of the Chinese people. Which brings us to our task. Examine the documents that follow and answer the question, did the Great Wall of ancient China, did the benefits outweigh the costs? So, take time now to finish up all of your notes and the questions for the background essay. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.